I guess. I am so grateful to have these three state representatives, these three Kansas state representatives joining me on stage. Representative Stephanie Clayton, Representative Representative Laura Williams, and least but not lastly, Representative Susan Ruiz. Have all been champions for our disability community. I want to first thank the three of you for all of your advocacy around expanding funding for the IDD waitlist. Because of your support, we were able to gain funding for 500 new slots. Okay, let's begin. Can each of you take a little bit of time and tell me a bit about yourself?
I'll start. Thank you, Lola. I told Lola she has a great name the first time I met her because that's what I was going to name my daughter, but I guess she took Lulu instead. So Lola, I love your name, and it has been a pleasure to get to know you over the last couple of years. My name is Representative Laura Williams, and I serve the House District 30, which makes up parts of Lenexa and Olathe. And I also get to serve on House Commerce Committee alongside Representative Clayton. Where we have worked on a lot of our employment and intellectual developmental disability policy, and we were able to accomplish a lot together.
Well, hello everyone. I'm Representative Stephanie Clayton. I represent parts of Prairie Village, Overland Park, and Leawood, and I've been in the legislature since 2013. I serve on Commerce with Representative Williams, as she mentioned. For quite a while, I was a member and for a little bit of time the vice chair of the Social Services Budget Committee, which, as many of you know, is very important when it comes to our issues, and just happy to continue serving. Also a member of the Tax Committee, so every once in a while we'll see important issues go through there. So I'm really looking forward to talking to you all more about some of the things that I've learned as a legislator about effective advocacy, and I'm really happy to be here today. Representative?
Thank you. Thank you again. Thank you for everybody being here. This is really exciting to be with everyone. I'm Representative Susan Ruiz, and I represent District 23, which is made up of Shawnee, Lenexa, and a little tiny bit of Overland Park. I am on 3 committees also. I'm on the Veterans and Military Committee, Social Services Budget Committee, and on the Health and Human Services Committee. And with the Social Services Budget Committee and the Health and Human Services Committee, there are bills that do come through that we try to advocate for and forward on that would be a benefit of everyone with a disability.
Amazing. As state representatives, you hear from so many constituents, the people you represent. I remember when I met Representative Shu, who represents the district that I live in. It was a very casual conversation, and he was really nice. What is your biggest piece of advice for the people in this room who may want to talk to you about a certain issue like the IDD waitlist, the direct support professional workforce crisis, competitive integrated employment, or anything else? Let's start with actually you, Representative Ruiz.
Thank you again, Lola. That's a great question. I want you to also know that I have a social work background. I have a license to be a clinical social worker. And I have been working in Kansas as a social worker for 31 years now. And my experience has been working with adults with severe mental illnesses and working with people that receive services through community mental health centers. And also I got the privilege of working also in Kansas City, Missouri at one point before I came into the legislature. And I was able to work with folks that have a disability but are also who are houseless. So I've got a varied amount of experience, and there were many things that I have learned. with working with people, and one is that you just don't work with people, that you go through a journey with them. And that everybody, the biggest thing that I've learned is nothing about us without us. And so being at the table and being able to express your concerns in some type of way, either through your own voice or through assisted device or through with somebody else, of being able to talk about what your needs are, what your concerns are. And that is what's important when you talk to a legislator. You make an appointment, you can schedule an appointment, you can come in as a group. There's so many ways of contacting a legislator, whether it's a person that is representing you where you live, or it's somebody that is on a key committee. Like these two representatives that are on the conference, I'm not on that. That's a very important committee. And that there's are bills that are important to you as an individual or as a group, you can always speak with them and ask to talk with them and share your personal story, because that, I think, really hits home for most people. I think it touches people's lives better that way. And also understand that a lot of people who are on these committees and are legislators, they don't have a lot of background. And so they need some education too. So being able to do that with them, I think is very important.
I'm going to echo a lot of what Representative Ruiz said. So, I first became aware of a lot of the issues with the IDD waiting list actually when I was running for office for the first time. I found out from people when I was knocking right on their doors, finding out, all right, what is going on and what do you care about the most? And so I've been aware of the issues with the IDD waiting list for quite a while. I think one of the best things that you can do with your legislator is a lot of what Representative Ruiz said, but again, persistent and kind and open-minded communication. Because again, a lot of us, this is not my background. I tend to focus a little bit more on tax and budget and business issues. But as you have seen, a lot of important bills related to our issues have come up in commerce. And so finding a way to talk to legislators who, again, don't have the background and the education that Representative Ruiz has, and educating us and making sure that, again, we know your personal stories. I feel like I'm repeating her a lot. It's like, but, I think it's really important to emphasize that really when we think about this as legislators, we think about it from the heart, which is the most important part, caring about our constituents, but actually being able to implement things, we need to think about it from our head. It's been very important to all of us to be able to get the money for those extra slots, but we also understand too that there are some systemic issues in getting the staff to provide those services. And so a lot of us get it, but not everyone does. So I would say, kind, persistent communication is the best way to get us.
I'll just add one last thing. I do think it's important for all of you guys to know here in this room is that we are not an expert in everything. And so you may be an expert in your field of what you know in your experiences. And so through being able to talk to your legislators, you guys get to inform us and educate us on the issues as well. So never feel, I guess, too afraid or that we aren't approachable in any way. We also want to learn and we want to have a better understanding of either your circumstances or even the issues you're encountering. It helps us better serve our communities.
That is all very good advice. As you look back on the 2024 legislative session, what were a couple of disability policy initiatives that were enacted that could have a positive impact on employment with people with disabilities going forward? Let's start with you, Representative Williams.
Well, Representative Clayton and I, we both serve on House Commerce Committee, which actually with Senate Bill 15, I believe, we started working on that last year when it was just an extension of a sunset on a employment tax credit for businesses that hire people with disabilities. And we together worked to eliminate a loophole that allowed for sheltered workshops or businesses with 14Cs take also advantage of this tax credit. And so loophole from it happening, but continue to build onto that in having those. I believe there's 17 businesses left with the 14C license, so completely, hopefully, completely eliminating those licenses in the state of Kansas through this grant program. And I think it's important to note that that didn't happen in 1 year. It happened over the span of 2 sessions, and so sometimes I think it can be disappointing when a session ends and your bill or something that you're passionate about didn't get addressed or even addressed to the extent that you would like for it to, but just know that we are continuing to work on those issues, and even, that means we're going to the next session trying to find the best solution for it for our state. So Senate Bill 15 was one that we were able to work on. I think it is a huge accomplishment. It really puts Kansas on the map of eliminating those old practices and moving forward with more employment opportunities for people with disabilities.
Thank you. And of course, again, since I was going to call you a senator, I apologize for the potential insult. So Representative Williams, I can say that because there aren't any senators here. But no, so Representative Williams and and again, we are on different sides of the aisle, but it is incredibly important too that that type of collaboration exists, because the best work that is done up there is bipartisan work. That's usually the heaviest lift. But I will also urge you that when you're contacting your legislators, they might not be in the same party as you are, but it does not matter. Any good legislator will be paying attention to their constituents regardless of that. So make sure you are holding our feet to the fire on that. One of the things that I think that we really kind of ran up against in the committee process when it came to eliminating that loophole for sheltered workhouses in SB 15 is misconceptions about people in the disability community and things that were frankly pretty offensive and pretty difficult to hear. And it was difficult for me, I'm known for my temper, to not react angrily at some of the unfair and inaccurate things that I heard, but instead to make sure that we're calmly responding and saying every worker should get minimum wage, regardless of perceptions about that, bottom line. And that's something that I think a lot of members, regardless of party, agree on. But there are some misconceptions, especially among some people in older generations that think that anyone is happy with any little bit. And to just calmly repeat that and say, no, that's not true. That's morally wrong. So that's one of the things that I'm proudest of, that we were able to hold the line on. And then to something else that Representative Williams said is that, again, a lot of times things aren't accomplished in a year. This, especially when it comes to the funding for the extra IED slots. Something that my mom told me, and I'm going to do a little bit of an analogy here, but I got a lilac plant from her 1 year, and I planted it, and I was like, oh, this is awesome. I'm going to get flowers next spring. And she's like, girl, no. 7 years is how long you have to wait. And a lot of times on some pieces of legislation that I've worked on, that's how long it's taken, is 7 years. You plant it, and sometimes you have to wait that long and be that persistent for the blooms. In particular, funding those extra slots has meant a great deal to me, because it's a promise that I have been making to my constituents that I'm going to work for this. And it finally feels good that after longer than 7 years, we were, at least for my tenure in there, that we were able to deliver.
I did a little bit of research, and I found at least 3 more bills that I believe make an impact. One of them is House Bill 2784, and that bill has several other bills kind of all bundled together. But one of them is the use of body camera or other audio or video recording device by state fire marshal and marshal's representatives. So if you live in a facility or any kind of a community kind of housing environment, there's codes, so the fire codes that are involved. And so you have a fire marshal, an inspector for the fire marshal's department has to come through and do an inspection, just to make sure everything's still good. Well, they've been wearing body cameras, and those body cameras have been on the entire time. So we passed this bill so that that body camera isn't on, because that is your home. So wherever you live, that is your home. And so we asked them to keep those cameras off unless they see something suspicious or something, um, um, anything that they think they would need their camera to come back on, then they can turn it on. But otherwise, when they come in, those cameras have to be off. Um, Another one was done towards the end of the session. This is House Bill 2531, and this is called the Kansas Purple Alert Plan. And so every once in a while, unfortunately, you might hear, even on your phone, you'll get an alert that a child has been abducted. Has anyone ever had that? Have you heard that, right? Or you see it on TV, right? So there's also silver alert. Got the silver hair here. So it's a silver alert, so it's somebody, that has, most of the time they have like dementia or Alzheimer's, and they go missing. So then you'll get an alert, and that's called a silver alert. This one is called the purple alert. And this alert, read the rest of this here. It's a public notice of a missing individual who may be promptly, they'll put it on the broadcast right away. In other words, there isn't a long time, wait time. And it is for anyone who has been 18 years or older, have been diagnosed with an intellectual disability, the whereabouts are unknown, so nobody knows where the person is, and they are believed to be maybe in danger. So this alert will get started here. I think it was enacted in July of this year already. So it's called the purple alert now. And also just note that Senator Cindy Holscher was the person that really pushed this bill through, and we got it through what's called a conference committee. And it was important that they talk with your community, to find out what color would be important to use. And purple was the color that was chosen. The last one is House Bill 2562. And this one protects vulnerable adults from Financial Exploitation Act. So there's already elder abuse. You might hear that. If you heard about child abuse, you can report child abuse. You can also report elder abuse. This one it's really to help folks who have maybe under guardianship, or have a conservator, somebody that is managing finances. This would protect you from being exploited financially. Those are the three other ones that I found.
Thank you. Representative Clayton, many people in the room today have had a history of being passionate advocates for all kinds of policies to promote a more inclusive and accessible Kansas. What are some tips you would give us to be better and more effective advocates?
Well, I think some of the tips that I might give you are to, in some cases, always start with kindness, even if you're frustrated with the way that your legislator votes, or frustrated with the way that they say things. It's tough, right? Because I kind of come at it from the standpoint of you all are the boss of us. We work for you, and that is the way that it should be, but not everyone feels that way. And so I think, with me, you can come and tell me what to do all day long, but if it's a different legislator, then always start off with, meeting them where they are, treating them with respect, with the same type of respect that you'd like to be treated with. And I think if you start with the baseline of that, that is a good way to do it. One logistical tip I'd like to unless it's during the first, basically January through April, if it's any other time of year, I would suggest looking on their websites and contacting them through their personal email or their personal phone number that they have listed. Like my cell number is listed. You guys can call and text me on that thing all day long. I have a Gmail that I check. But during legislative session, it's easy to call our office because we have staff. But once session is over, we don't have staff. We're all kind of doing our advocacy for you all through a home office standpoint. And so that's one of the best ways to just remember, and if it's not snowing outside, you probably want to reach us through our personal websites or personal emails. Or understand that some of us check our state emails, but maybe not as many times a day when it's not during session time. So that's what I would recommend we start with.
Representative Williams, you have someone in your family who drives your passion for disability policy. What is one issue or topic that you wish we would talk about more in the Capitol?
Thanks, Lola. Yeah, so for me personally, I have a few different family members that have disability, and I think even growing up too, I've always enjoyed spending time with them, and now being able to share their perspective in the Capitol and fight for policy for them has given it more of a meaning to me, but also hearing other people's stories as well, it makes me feel like us even up here, we're fighting for someone. There's a face to these issues. And I believe that's the most powerful way to advocate and get something across to the finish line. For me, I am an entrepreneur at heart, and I own my own small business. I started it when my daughter was just 4 months old. And I think one thing that has come to me over these last few weeks is that we should have a Kansas where this is a place that you come to grow your own business and start your own American dream. And we need to be able to be inclusive in that way with people with disabilities. So I think even serving on House Commerce Committee, how can we keep in mind as we're making Kansas this economic driver in the country, including people with disabilities and including them in the conversation of how can we help everyone grow their dream of maybe owning their own business or doing what they want in the employment space. And so I think as we're looking forward at more policy focused on more employment for people with disabilities and helping people find their passion, how can we also include business owners in the conversation and people who want to own their businesses one day? I think Johnson County especially is a magical place in Kansas because we have so many different organizations and groups championing these ideas. I mean, Down Syndrome Innovations offers so many resources and I think is an incredible tool in our community. We also have, places like Golden Scoop and Possibility and Inclusion Connections. It's just pretty cool to see Johnson County leading in those efforts, and I want that to be multiplied on a state level and on a national level as well.
Representative Reese. Oh, top if you will. Representative Reese, you were on the Bob Bethel Joint Committee on Home and Community-Based Services and Care Oversight. Can you talk a bit about the purpose of that committee and how advocates can use this committee to share their experiences?
Yes, thank you, Lola, for the question. The Bob Bethel Oversight Committee was named after a representative by the name of Bob Bethel. And he died in a car accident after, I can't remember the year, do you know?
I think it would have been 2012.
2012. It was after a very late session, and he died in a car accident. But he was very much an advocate for oversight of Medicaid. And so in Kansas, Medicaid is called KanCare, KANCARE. And so there needs to be oversight of that, and there are many, many reasons for that. But one of them is how and where we're spending Medicaid dollars. And as we all know, that being able to have those 500 new slots, if we don't have the people that can work to be able to like, then you just got money hanging out, right? So we also have to have the workforce. So the committee is always asking the agencies, like managed care organizations, which manage care, and so probably everyone, mostly everybody here, might be under a managed care organization. So it could be United Health, it could be Aetna, it could be Sunflower. And so they have people that work, you know, and those people work for you. They work with you. Some of you are able to do employing direct service providers yourself, which is a really cool thing, and we need to expand more of that. But we also have to ask, if you need an assistive device, it takes a long time to get that, and it shouldn't. So this committee is able to ask those who are in charge of that, of saying, why is it taking so long to do that? So there's a lot of things that we can do. One of the things that I really like about the Bethel committee, and this is coming up again on the 22nd, we'll have 2 more days of it, that people, self-advocates, come to the committee and give us not just their story, but hold us accountable. And Colin is here, and Colin is always there. Yeah. And Colin is a great self-advocate, and Colin really does try to hold us accountable. Us meaning the legislators on that committee, and the managed care organizations, and anyone else that is providing services. He is really good about that, and he asks really hard questions that we have to answer. We can't just turn around and say, okay, great, thank you, Colin. We have to answer those questions. And he gives us ideas. So being able to funnel your questions and your concerns through people's advocates like Colin, or maybe you want to come and speak before the committee. Anybody can come and speak before the committee and talk to us about what's important to you, what's going right and what's going wrong. But also, if you have solutions, if there's things that you think would fix it, tell us about it. Because, you know, as Representative Williams said, we don't know everything. I may have credentials, I may have a license. That doesn't give me the idea that I know everything, because I don't. I live my life, but I don't live your life. So I need to know from you. And the best people to say that is you.
Yay. Thank you, Representatives Reese, Williams, and Clayton. I really appreciate all your work on your advocacy for people like me with disabilities. Does anyone have any questions? Oh, the ones that are back. Way back there. That's an important fellow. Allison's like your runner. Yeah.
My name is Susan Ruiz, and I do have Down syndrome. But how can they eliminate the marriage penalty, which I'm passionate about?
I'm so happy you brought that up. I was hoping you were going to bring that up. Can you talk about what the marriage penalty is? If not, I can do it. Yeah.
It's kind of hard for us, with or without developmental disabilities, to take place, to have a marriage, start living our family. But we can't afford it.
Right. So, in order to get Medicaid, you know how you you have to be eligible for it, right? And so if you have two people with disabilities living together, married or not, your income is gonna get counted. And a lot of times it makes you ineligible. In other words, you can't get Medicaid. So it is a rule that has been put in there by the federal government for I don't know how many years, long, long, long time. That is a rule that's there. I know that there are a lot of advocates that go to Washington DC and talk with Congress about getting that changed. And that's what it's gonna take, is more and more people talking about that. So speaking with your Congresswoman, Sharice Davids, and advocating for that, is important, because the only way we do it is to keep talking about it. Because there aren't enough people that know about it, and or maybe even care about it, you know. So I think being able to just talk about it all the time, and you coming today and asking that question is powerful, and people need to hear more of that.
Thank you.
I just wanted to add, if any of you have Hulu, there is a great new documentary called Patrice, the movie, which is all about the marriage penalty and two people that can't get married because they're losing. So check it out.
So, awesome, I live that every day. And part of why we haven't spoken out is because we fear that it all can get taken away. And it's so important Austin doesn't get less disabled just because we get married. And not that a piece of paper is even important, but being able to feel equal and to share what we have with each other, with others. We feel very limited, and we feel like we have to hide. And one other point that we're very fearful of is that we're watching how things are handled in the LGBTQ plus community, and if that can get stripped away from them, what does that mean for us if they can take that away, give it and then take it? It's really important to try to find some sort of way to make it a permanent solution that can be changed for the better but not be taken away. I guess my question is how can we reach out in a way that is accessible without that fear of, we live in this fear of, Social Security is going to find out. We have to play by their rules to make sure Austin gets his $37,000 wheelchair, and that's not including any sort of technology that helps him speak. So how can we reach out and stay safe?
Well, I would say, I think one of the ways that you can reach out is honestly by building awareness. I don't have any plans tonight, so I'm totally going to go home and watch Patrice and eat ice cream, and I'm probably going to cry. But I should, because it is terrible. There is no reason, marriage is a very important backbone of our society, and everyone should be able to not only live with the person that they love, but also marriage is a mutual caregiver situation. It's people who live with other folks, especially within a marriage relationship, are by and large safer. And there's more of a penalty for living on your own as well. Anyone who's ever tried to cook for one ends up, spending a lot more money. Sometimes it's cheaper to just get takeout than it is to go to the grocery store. So I think that talking to your legislators and building awareness just about that situation and letting them know that everyone deserves to live with people that they love, and not to mention the fact that it is, in many ways, a money saver, and that people should not be denied that. Now, granted, we can't do a lot about that at our level, but if you start lighting a fire under your state legislators, trust me, we will bother our our congressional delegation, we're all very adept at that. And I think getting that team advocacy together is an excellent idea. Thank you for bringing this to my attention as well.
Okay, so I have an interesting question. I am also a parent of a young man with special needs. And so I also have, we talked about the power of our personal story. And I love to share my story, but can you give us some tips on if I was to get in the elevator with one of you and you were going up to the 8th floor and I wanted to get my personal story across to you in that short amount of time, what would you want to hear from me that would really make an impact on you when we get off that elevator?
That's a really good question. Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah. I think, being in the Capitol and, we're always getting stopped by people. So we have more time than you may think. So, but I do think hitting the bullet points, whether that you're there for a specific bill, and you may not know if that legislator is in the Senate or in the House. Most of the times we wear name tags, sometimes we don't, but we wear pens too. And so there are, key identifiers, or if, someone else is wearing those things, they're also staff. And so I think even too, staff are people you can talk to and share those stories with as well. But I think just hitting the points of, hey, I'm a mom with a son that has disabilities. House Bill 2117 is a bill that quickly, graze over it, and this is how it would directly impact my family. And I'm just asking if you'll just listen to me for a few minutes, or if I can stop by your office and get on your calendar to talk to you, later in the day, or I really want to share my story with you, or I think even, you're going to go do an advocacy day at the Capitol, send your story beforehand, and so that, hopefully we've been able to glance over and read through it, and then we'll be able to be like, oh my gosh, this is this lady who sent me the story earlier. I want to know more. And I may not be on that committee, but I've got a friend who serves there, and I can talk with them and work with them of trying to, build a strategy forward. There are also great people here in this room. Sarah with Kansas Council of Developmental Disabilities, she can help you coach up, and either, if you want to submit a testimony and be there in person, those are another way that you can be powerful there as well. I think it's helpful when you hear an actual Kansas resident and a mom. You have a story and it's powerful. And being able to see it firsthand is just even more important. I know I think Colin has testified in front of our Commerce Committee, and Kathy Law has testified. Those testimonies are very powerful. And so if you get a chance to talk to, a representative in the elevator, never be afraid. Sometimes I think people just their eyes quickly go to the floor and they just don't want to talk to you. Most of the time we've got time to talk and we want to hear those stories. So if you can squeeze your story into a minute, great, but if it's going to take you 5 minutes, the nice ones will sit there and listen and want to know more. I don't know if you guys could add anything on to that.
That's perfect, but Representative Williams, that's fantastic. I know for me, we had over 600 bills submitted last session. So some people just say, well, I want to talk to you about House Bill, blah, blah, blah. And I'm going, I don't know what that is. So also, describe, like as you said, describe what that bill is, what it does, or what is that going to do.
We got a question. Sorry. So, people with, my mom and dad always believed in people should, when they live together, they should get married. See, I wanted to get married, but income's kind of more important. I have severe anxiety, and that's around people because I'm just nervous and just random things. I always want to get married, but I have to have the income to be able to be I don't know how to explain it. It just, I was dreaming about getting married, but the income's really bad. How would I go about that if the other half was working and didn't have disability, but I did? How would that come across? I don't really understand that. Would you be able to explain that to me?
Sorry, this is Sarah. I can jump in.
Hey, Sarah, thank you.
A lot of the challenges in Missouri, Missouri Medicaid, and then those extra benefits like SSI or SSDI are means tested, so they're based on your income. And one of the things that we're gonna be working on at the federal level, so this is not really, as Representative Clayton said, this is not an issue that we can just tackle in Kansas, because this is nationwide. We're gonna be working on that in the next legislative session. We've been huge supporters, and we'll talk about it as we wrap up of the ending the marriage penalty at the federal level. We've been pushing Senator Moran and Senator Marshall and Representative Davis to co-sponsor that legislation. But that doesn't go far enough. We need to really overhaul those income limitations so there's an incentive to work and have that safety net in Medicaid and SSI. So
Sarah, I have a question for you, just, off the top of my head. When was the last time those income limitations were changed? What about inflation?
Colin, what, 1989, 1980s? When we were still institutionalizing people with disabilities, and so we really.
You're allowed to have 2,000 in asset on SSI, and that was changed in 1989, and I believe Kansas, just the Medicaid side of it, you can only have 2,000 in asset. Now, I've heard you can only make like $8,000 a year on and be on Medicaid, unless you meet like disability and other things.
Thank you for, for updating. Yeah, I did not know. I appreciate, look at me, I'm learning stuff. I really appreciate this.
Well, Lola, I know we are out of time and there's ice cream melting, so we're gonna save those great questions because a lot of these issue-based questions we're gonna tackle in the last session. Do you wanna point everybody in the right direction?
Yes.
And thank our panelists.
Oh, I can come in.